Irish plane hijacked over London. Former Trappist monk holds 100 passengers hostage. Billie Jean fights money demand from woman lover. Aston Villa lose the match but win the championship. Good evening. An Irish plane hijacked over London with more than 100 people on board is still sitting on the tarmac at Le Touquet in northern France after 9 hours. 5 women and 6 children have been freed. A French anti-terrorist team wearing bulletproof jackets and carrying fire extinguishers and ladders have surrounded the plane. First reports suggested that the lone hijacker was an Iranian. It's now clear that he's a former Trappist monk named Lawrence James Downey, an Australian who's been living in the Limerick area of the Irish Republic. His motives for the hijack are religious rather than political. The first sign that anything was wrong on Aer Lingus Flight 164 from Dublin to London came as the pilot and his crew were preparing to land at Heathrow just before 1:45 this afternoon. The hijacker burst into the cockpit and ordered the captain to fly to Tehran. The Heathrow control tower advised him to make first for the French coast for refuelling at Le Touquet. John Underwood is there.
When it landed, the Aer Lingus Boeing taxied to a small apron on the perimeter of Le Touquet Airport. The local authorities who've taken control of the security operation acted swiftly to close the airport itself and local airspace. While daylight continued, armed riot police kept well away from the plane. As for the hijacker, Lawrence Downey, he continued to pace the aircraft, occasionally pouring petrol onto his robes, in an attempt to make it clear that if his demands were not met, he was prepared to die along with his hostages. It's feared he may also have a bomb in a suitcase. Negotiations with the hijacker have been suspended as French officials await the arrival of an Irish minister. But tonight, as darkness fell, the French Special Intervention Squad approached the plane armed with automatic weapons, grenades and ladders. But it's thought one of them was spotted by the hijacker and the squad drew back. John Underwood, ITN at Le Touquet Airport.
A few hours after the plane arrived at Le Touquet, 5 of the women passengers were set free with their young children. They seemed unharmed after their experience, but they all talked about the nervousness of the hijacker. In Dublin, the Irish Prime Minister, Mr. Haughey, called an emergency cabinet meeting to discuss how they should react to the hijacker's demands. The Dublin newspaper, the Sunday Independent, has already volunteered to print a statement from Mr. Downey on the third secret of Fatima. More on that in a moment. After the cabinet meeting, the Irish Transport Minister left for Le Touquet.
It's an odd situation, but with some 100 lives at stake, everything is being done to lessen the risks. So this afternoon, Transport Minister Albert Reynolds himself hurried across the apron here at Dublin Airport to join a special flight direct to Le Touquet, still not knowing too much what it was all about. Has he made any demands apart from wanting to go to Tehran?
The publication of the third secret of Fatima.
What on earth is that?
It's religious writing. They're religious secrets, not for me to say what it is.
You're confident there's no political intent in this
Absolutely.
hijack?
No question of it whatsoever.
And with him on this plane, a number of company officials and a fresh crew, because one of the things that they think that they might have to do is to transfer the hostages and the hijacker to this long-range Boeing 737, which is a range of some 2,200 miles, and if necessary, that's the plane that will make the hop all the way to Tehran if it's needed. Desmond Hamill, ITN in Dublin.
The hijacker's main demand concerns the third secret of Fatima, which is a reference to a document given to the Pope in the 30s relating to an apparition by the Virgin Mary at the Portuguese village of Fatima in 1917. 3 shepherd children living there had 6 visions of the Virgin, and as a result, Fatima became one of the Catholic Church's best-known shrines. Pope Paul VI worshipped there in 1967, and it attracts 1 million pilgrims every year. The Virgin is said to have given the children 3 secrets. The first forecast the Second World War. The second warned that Russia would scatter her errors throughout the world. The third prophecy was given to the Vatican to be kept secret until 1960. The Pope opened it, but never revealed what it was. Supporters of the IRA hunger striker, Mr. Bobby Sands MP, say his condition continues to get worse. The 3 other hunger strikers at the Maze prison are also much weaker. With all security services on full alert, the Northern Ireland Secretary, Mr. Atkins, had fresh talks today with police and army chiefs. He said they were prepared to protect the whole community against violence from whatever quarter.
Mr. Atkins felt the people of Northern Ireland needed reassurances that the army and police were adequate to deal with any trouble that may arise as a result of the hunger strike. And after meeting with security forces chiefs this morning, that was the message he delivered to the Lord Mayor of Belfast, John Carson. Mr. Atkins also said that the government have certain contingency plans to safeguard essential services. But Mr. Carson thinks the situation here is now less gloomy.
I think the community has accepted that there's sufficient security available to look after the people. There has been a lot of tension in Northern Ireland and indeed Belfast for the past number of days, and that seemed to have receded in some measure, and we're very thankful for that. I think the fact is that people are beginning to realise that the fear that was being spread abroad and the intimidation and the difficulties that they're living under for the past number of weeks, then there is adequate provision made to deal with those problems and to give the people the protection they need.
The sight of Catholic children playing on an army vehicle gives weight to Mr. Carson's view. The tensions have eased slightly over the last couple of days, but nobody knows what will happen when the hunger strike reaches its climax.
In Liverpool, 7 people were arrested during clashes between 150 supporters of the Irish hunger strikers and 500 counter-demonstrators. 200 police threw a cordon round the pro-hunger strikers when they were attacked by members of a local Protestant Orange Order. The woman who claimed she had a lesbian love affair with tennis player Billie Jean King says she's pleased and relieved that Mrs. King has admitted it. The woman, who's now a cripple after a failed suicide attempt, is suing Mrs. King for a house and financial support. Billie Jean's husband, Larry, has said he still loves her dearly and that their marriage won't be affected by the revelations.
I did have an affair with Marilyn Barnett. It's been over for quite some time, and I'm very disappointed and shocked that Marilyn has done this not only to herself in a very self-destructive way, but to other people who have cared for her. I don't really think I'm going to be able to talk to you very much because of the legalities, but it's very important to me to especially thank Larry, because I love him very much. He's my lover, my husband, and my best friend, has been for 19 years.
Sport and Aston Villa are the new football champions. Widnes have won the Rugby League Cup. Villa took their title despite losing 2-0 to Arsenal because their only challengers Ipswich also lost. Our sports correspondent, Tony Francis, starts the day's roundup from the ground at Highbury.
As it happened, today's sellout was irrelevant, which was just as well because Villa didn't look like champions. They were nervous and allowed Arsenal a soft goal in 11 minutes. Willie Young must have been flattered by that one. Would the Aston Villa manager Ron Saunders see the pendulum swing back to Ipswich after all? He must have been a worried man when Arsenal made it 2 on half-time. Somehow Swain, Gibson and Rimmer contrived to let McDermott through for a quite remarkable goal. Well before the end, though, Villa supporters had heard the Ipswich score and nothing else mattered. The inevitable pitch invasion could have been very nasty, but police handled it superbly, keeping rival Arsenal and Aston Villa fans well apart. Shut off from all that, the players were enjoying their own celebration, with champagne, of course. Now that they'd managed it, what was Saunders' recipe for success?
A lot is spoken about ability and flair and all the rest of it, but ability and flair without being linked with character and the ability to run and the will to run and a certain amount of organisation in a side doesn't mean a great deal.
You're not a man who shows his emotions very much, but is this the greatest day of your life?
No, the greatest day of my life was when my eldest boy was born, without a doubt. When I did a few somersaults. I don't know why.
What you be doing, Eddie, today?
I'm bloody past it, aren't I?
Among the other issues settled today, Swansea, who were applying for re-election only 6 years ago, have reached the First Division for the first time in their history. They won 3-1 at Preston and edge out Blackburn on goal difference. Joining Swansea and West Ham in Division 1, Notts County, back there after 55 years. Chris Jamieson saw them win 2-0 at Chelsea.
Chelsea end this season having played 847 minutes of league soccer without scoring a goal. Clive Walker came close, but today belonged to Notts County. 15 minutes gone, and Trevor Christie put the Midlands team ahead. County built upon their early lead, and it was Rashid Harkouk, once a London player himself, who made it certain that First Division soccer would now come to Meadow Lane. Chelsea had obviously wanted promotion for themselves, and what should have been a day to remember was spoilt by their boorish behaviour. They booed County's 2 black players throughout the match and ended up by invading the pitch. Chris Jameson, ITN Sport, Stamford Bridge.
Rugby at Twickenham, Leicester won the John Player Cup for the 3rd time in succession when they beat Gosforth 22-15. The trophy now becomes their own property. At Wembley, 94,000 of the best-ordered fans in the country saw Widnes turn in one of their most impressive performances to beat Hull Kingston Rovers 18-9 in the Rugby League Challenge Cup final. Ian Edwards was among them.
Mick Burke, the Widnes fullback, began it all with an opportunist try. That perfect start was improved upon by a break from Mick George for the 2nd try. The match became even more one-sided by the 2nd half, when Gregory, the young scrum half, broke through in a brilliant solo effort. And by this time, Widnes were well on their way towards equalling Wigan's record of 6 victories, while Hull were only rarely able to threaten the Widnes line. They gained a consolation try when Casey, their captain, gave the scoring pass to Burton. But it couldn't stop Widnes from celebrating a stylish and deserved victory. Ian Edwards, ITN Sport, Wembley.
The day's big race, the 2,000 guineas at Newmarket, was won by the favourite. The result was Toagori Mu, 5-2 favourite, Mataboy 50-1 and Belbaleed 14-1.
Prince Charles, on his visit to America, was today awarded an honorary degree by the William and Mary College in Williamsburg, Virginia. Earlier in the day, he'd visited the NATO military and naval base at Norfolk.
The Prince of Wales, in his full-dress uniform as Commander of the Royal Navy, inspected the Guard of Honour. This is the only NATO command in the United States, and Britain is the 2nd biggest representative among the 15 NATO nations here. The Prince later met privately with families of British servicemen. Afterwards, the Prince helicoptered onto the flight deck of the U.S. nuclear carrier Nimitz, the ship from which America launched the aborted mission to rescue hostages in Iran. He was taken on a tour of the carrier's top-secret installations.
Well, with 100 passengers still held hostage in Latuke, that's the news so far this bank holiday weekend. Have a good night.